Oh, we're finally at our best shows, and I'm happy.
Now we get to talk about the stuff that we liked.
Oh yeah, like honestly, all season you guys have basically seen very clearly what we are fans of, and this is it. This is our high tier, top tier shows, including our pick for anime of the season. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. The first show that's going to kick us off, possibly one of my most anticipated shows of next winter, because like I just want more of this show. It's just what a fucking ride this whole entire stupid show is.
Nanbaka
it's fun. It's a fun show.
It is. I agree with Mia. It's a fun show. It is just really funny. It's great. It's wonderful. God bless Gyarus. We did that in the mid-season. We're doing it again.
Yeah, seriously. God bless Gyarus.
Amazing. In any case, so let's just get into the pros, because there's a lot of really good things about this show. If everybody in the show wasn't already in prison, I would demand they go to prison immediately, because the show is illegally funny. Oh my god.
It's not just like humor that's specific to anime. It's just genuinely funny things that are said out of a lot of people's mouths, and just setups that are
good.
Really hilarious.
I love how much of a fucking weeaboo everyone is, and
yeah, everybody
I don't know,
except
it's like,
Jugo.
I can't like even describe
the actual Japanese man, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's like I can't describe all of the things that I think are funny about Nanbaka, because we'd be here for another like 30 minutes really just on this slide. But
in between fucking how big of a how big the other three are just gigantic weeaboos. Yamato and his one true love, her name being Leg Day. Fucking
everything about Nico.
Everything about Nico is just so good. But yeah. And as you could probably see by the gray image, another big thing that works in favor of this show, everything just has sparkles around it.
It is bright and colorful and shiny, to the point that actually the transparency for this is higher than it is for the rest of the shows. I had to make this an extra 10% more transparent such that we could see the text.
Literally, it's just the brightest, most shiniest of shows, and I would not have it any other way.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, it's also it's a really tender show, even though it's a comedy. It's like, it's not like all, it's punching down. It's not punching down.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a comedy, and it is genuinely just like hysterically funny, but also the characters all like love each other. You can tell that they're like very good friends, and they're honestly like. I have some gripes with like the long-term direction of this show, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but everybody's character development I felt like was perfect.
Yep.
Just like everyone is, oh my god, this show makes my cold dead heart feel things, like all sorts of just happy feelings that I was not expecting. I mean, I don't know, because you get a lot of the, like, especially looking at the preview, I got like low-key worried about this, because of all the censorship, but like when you actually got into the show and realized that the censorship was actually because they were referencing like specific stuff from other mangas that could like get them sued, I'm like, okay, never mind. This is good and funny, and just all the main characters like each other, and that's huge. Like, yes. That's not always something that happens. So
yeah, like there's a lot of comedies where everyone just kind of tolerates each other. But here they're all friends in prison.
It's literally just so perfect.
It's so good. However,
that being said, there are some problems with this show. For one thing, that tournament arc, man, it overstayed. It's fucking welcome.
So here's the thing. There is a lot of a more serious plot that develops. I mean, I'm just gonna like read this because I like this sentence. There is a lot of a more serious plot that develops that is not as good as the rest of the show is funny. The thing is that parts of that are good, because that external plot becomes a mechanism for a lot of emotional reveals, and I think a lot of the emotional reveals are very, like, good and pure-hearted, and I even mentioned it in the pros that the emotional payoffs are really good. The issue is that, like, the actual external plot is just kind of a mess. doesn't fit. It's like you don't want to necessarily go for like shonen style fight drama, because that's not why we're here. It's not even necessarily that it's bad. It's just not why we're here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was enjoyable for like an episode or two, and then like you're just like,
okay, I don't care anymore.
back to the jokes. Back to the jokes, please.
Back to the jokes. It low-key ran out of animation budget at the end. They really, and I've mentioned they hide it well. They really do a good job of hiding it well, but it's just like that as a person that's criticizing the show, I am looking for it, and it is, you can see it if you look.
Keep in mind, this is Satellite, and they've learned from their previous animation faux pas mistakes not to do it ever again.
Yep.
Dare I bring up the boppity-ass walk cycle?
Boppity-ass walk cycle. I have a gif of that. You can drop that in. Like, right
believe
here.
me, it's going in there.
Oh my god, Satellite once had a piece of animation so bad it made me scream at other people in public. Also, let's just come together as friends and say that Burning Man was a mistake.
Yep. Yeah.
I referred to him mostly as BDSM-kun during the course of the actual show, and like he was a cute kid, and I don't mind his backstory, but like he was a mechanism for the external plot that really just wasn't that good.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, to be fair, while they do have those elements that kind of bog down the show a little bit, it's still just, the comedy is just so great, and every single element of that is just so on point that it...
And so many of the, like, the backstory and emotional reveals are, like, really, really big. Like, Jugo having literally clinical depression and all of his friends being so wonderful and supportive of him. Ah!
It outruns the cons in a very big sense.
Nico not being able to read.
Nico was not being able to read.
Nico not being able to read broke my fucking heart. Oh my god. It was just like he already had kind of a sad life where like being some weird like medicine guinea pig because he's fucking...
From Chicago,
yeah, because he's fucking strange. And then like when Jugo breaks him out of the medical bed, I'm like, oh good, they're gonna like hang out and stuff. And then Nico's like flipping through a book really fast, and Jugo's like, wait, are you just looking at the pictures? And Nico goes, yeah, I can't read. And I'm like, kill me! Just stab me while you're at it. Oh, that hurt my heart.
Yeah. So our final verdict on Nanbaka, 4 out of 5. Definitely give this a watch.
Watch it.
If you just like very bright and colorful anime, this is like right up your fucking alley. And just the comedy is so good that there's no way that we couldn't have this in the high tier. Like, seriously, Nanbaka, I'm so fucking happy that this has got a season 2.
I have no idea how, but they managed it.
Satellite manages to pull season 2s out of fucking nowhere.
Oh my god.
Thank God for that. So now on from the happiest show in our high tier to
this.
The show so sad that it murdered my fucking laptop.
Rigatsu no lie, it's so fucking sad that Joe's laptop killed itself.
To be fair, part of it was also my fault, but you know, whatever. We'll ignore that fact. So
listen, you can't have survivor's guilt here.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay.
You can't have survivor's guilt.
So, Rigatsu no Lion. I have not talked about this show in what feels like forever, and I feel like
it is actually 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's time for me to basically give my critique at the end of this fall season. I know it's going to be a little bit of runoff into the next season, but...
Yeah, it's continuing.
But, honestly...
We talked about Nanbaka, we talked about Classical Ed, we're talking about Rigatsu no Lion.
You know, why not? It kind of saves us the time of being redundant at the next end of the season wrap-up. So, honestly... I may have sounded very indifferent towards Rigatsu no Lion, but honestly, it's the exact opposite. You remember who we're talking to? The big Shaft stan in the room?
Massive Shaft stan.
So, going into this, I saw that it was the director Bakemonogatari, and basically it's just Shaft's, greatest hits getting together, and it's going to be an adaptation of this thing. I was like, okay, the source material looks interesting enough. I'll give it a watch. And I was pleasantly surprised with what I was given. The direction, art style, it's Shaft. They have a standard. They live up to it. It's basically par for the course for them, which in my eyes is above average of most shows out there today. Like, if you watch this, you're watching a Shaft show, you know what you're getting in terms of visual quality and direction. So good, we got that. The character designs, very faithful to the source material. I actually did a lot of reading of the source material after like going, because I wanted to like get some of these like tie-ins also to see if the source material really was as sad as it was, which it was. Yeah. They actually remained they remained faithful as hell to this source material. They did cut some stuff out, I will admit, but
it's also like this is an award-winning source material,
yes,
like over and over and over.
So, like, but the character designs, they were really well done. I thought all the decisions in terms of voice acting was also really well done, and what they
I would pinch the cheeks of everyone in this picture.
Yeah, it's a loving. It's just a really comfortable feeling anime, and I love that. And while it has that comfortable exterior, at the same time, it does such a great job of conveying its themes of depression, sadness, trying to deal with being in a high level like situation that Kiriyama's in, while at the same time trying to just live a normal kid's life, even though he's like past high school. It does that really, really well. And while yes, it is rather kind of intense at times, it draws you in the same vein as other Shaft shows do, where it's like it's enticing visuals combined with a good story, and it just kind of collides into a really great thing. And Kiriyama, I think that he's honestly one of my favorite protagonists of this season, purely on the fact that he is relatable, not necessarily to me, but to a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
super relatable.
The fact that he's like, you know, a very high level like professional shogi player, but they like gave him problems that people experience that are not, you know, that like his problems are not necessarily wrapped up in you knowing a whole metric fuck ton about shogi, you know,
right.
Which is good. It's to the source material and the show's benefit.
Right. Like, honestly, to draw like a real life parallel, like from all of my traveling to Smash events and stuff like that, for being as involved with the community as I am, which if you have kind of been watching the podcast from me promoting it at those Smash events, you know is a lot.
Thank you.
It's it's really interesting to see the kind of same deck. Like, a lot of the players kind of share the same kind of worldview as Kiriyama, and I find that really, really interesting, as they should. However, as good of a show this is, like all Shaft shows, they do have their glaring flaws. For one thing, this show, guys, if you cannot deal with dark, depressing, really sad shit. If you have depression,
you might not want to actually watch this show.
Because it'll fuck your shit up.
Yeah, this show can get really, really fucking sad. And the part that, honestly, is the rough part of it is that a lot of these moments are very sudden and jarring and are meant to kind of disrupt you from that kind of slumber. Like, it's meant to kind of push the theme right in front of your face. It's like, look, this is what we're talking about. Look at it. Look at it.
Look at it.
Look at it. And for some people, that's fine. But for some people where that stuff hits a little too close to home, you
might want to avoid it.
Yeah, you might want to you might want to give this another a second go over. Another thing is, while for the most part the story is fairly straightforward in most parts, it's basically just adapting different versions of the different chapters of the book. The pacing in some parts, especially if they're covering some shorter chapters and you can tell they're vying for content, the pacing can drop in a couple spots. It's not that noticeable, but it was noticeable enough for me to where I had to put this down as a con. And as always, I feel like this is something that doesn't really need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Shaftisms.
Shaft made this show. Not only did they make this show, they put the director of Bakemonogatari as the director of this show. So you're going to get the tropes. You're going to get the French New Wave style jump cuts. You're going to get the avant-garde angles. You're going to get the head tilts. They are all here, present, and accounted for, and I'm going to say this right now.
And probably loud, yeah.
If you are not a fan of Shaft stuff like that, then you're not going to like this show, because unlike some other Shaft shows, this is distinctly trademark Shaft styling, and I know that while I'm a huge fan of it, not everybody is.
Yeah.
So take that as you will. I have to say that even though I did not talk a whole lot about this show, I still hold it in the highest regard. Completely setting my bias aside, is that even though it is Shaft, and even though, yes, I do tend to lean toward shows like this, it surprised me in a way that I was not expecting, because there was not a Shaft show that was kind of this real, I want to say, since like, God, I guess since the first time I watched Madoka, really, like that, like it hasn't gotten to that level of real, and this is like, it's a good show. It is a really good show, and my final verdict on it is 4 out of 5. Definitely give this a watch if you have the time. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just such a trip that you'll feel all different kinds of emotions, but once again, not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Like,
if you have problems with clinical depression, do not watch this.
Yes.
Yeah,
give it some time.
If you watch anime to escape from the real world and you have clinical depression, do not watch.
Yeah, this is the wrong show to do that to. So yeah.
Regards to No Lion is good, and it's really, really fucking sad.
Yes. So that was nice. Now on to probably the prettiest show on our thing, Flip Flappers.
So y'all may not have expected this to come through mid-tier, or high tier, and that was one of the sort of disadvantages of having to skip a couple weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I bitched a lot about Flip Flappers and like not making a lot of sense. But in the end, one of the things that really pushed this through to the high tier for me was, like I think I said in discussions with you guys before, like the last 4 episodes of the show really pushed it up there for me. And then also just me coming to terms with the fact that it was never going to be the show that I expected it to be. And that was a really big part of why this got into high tier, because I pushed aside the considerations of what I thought it was going to be and what I wanted it to be. So let's get into the pros and cons here. So a lot of pros for the show, obviously. Like, pretty much anyone who had seen like any of the previews for this or knows anything about any of the people involved with this project could have told you from the get-go it would have great animation. But like, just watching any part of the show, you can see just how much energy and how much like fun is in all the animation. It's really well directed in a way that complements and furthers all the themes that are presented in the show. So there's a lot of really good symbolism and a lot of really well executed themes and visuals that all complement those themes and kind of reinforce them, which is, in case you guys weren't aware, a good way of telling a story visually. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, and it's super strong, especially considering how strong the visuals in this are.
There's a lot of really, really good visuals in this. It has a lot of rewatch value, honestly. Like, I have watched, I think episode 4 probably more than 3 times, because that, episode 4, I think it was, or it might have been 5. I'm thinking about the one that was, like, based in the academy, and it was, like, kind of like a horror movie. Anyway, it has a lot of rewatch value, especially with the numerous reveals in the last 4 episodes. And I feel like after watching the last 4 episodes for the first time, going back and watching the whole show over again would bring a lot of other things back to light. And you'd be like, oh, okay, so that's why this happened. That's why that happened. This is why this makes slightly more sense. Especially with, like, the entire concept of what is pure illusion and stuff like that. And so we kind of know what it actually is instead of just, like, where are we going? Who knows? It had a lot of really good parts in every single episode. Like, every episode, sort of more, except for the last 4, kind of stands well on its own as its own insular adventure that also manages to still stay within the whole. So it's just really, really strong that way. Lastly, the biggest pro for me was that there was some real gay shit in here.
And we're about it.
Yes.
I mean, okay, I'm not going to lie. I am, like, skeptical about gay shit a lot of times. But in this one, I can see it's pretty, like, unambiguously gay shit right there. So I'm just going to say, good job. Do I wish they weren't in middle school? Of course. But, you know.
I mean, we all wish that.
We want. Anyway, on that note, we'll talk about some of the drawbacks Flip Flappers dealt with. It had a lot of really weird and creepy male gaze shots. like a lot of really weird shots.
And we are not
like,
for it.
Yeah.
We're not for that because they are like actually 13. And that's some weird shit. And like part of it is like part of me having an issue with it is that one of the themes in the show is stuff about like Kokona figuring out like sexuality and all that stuff because she's at an age where she has to deal with that sort of thing. But it's very clear that the audience for this show is not 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
So like it comes across as really voyeuristic and creepy. And I'm just not about that. Like I think one particular example I can give that is probably the most jarring example for me was the episode with the robots where there was basically like a camera like in front of their asses.
The butt
like,
cam.
The butt cam.
The butt cam in
the
butt cam in the Evangelion episode.
Yes.
Yes. It was like the most jarring thing, and I'm still kind of shaking my head at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, another con is that Paprika is a plot device and not a real character. Like from the get-go, Paprika's instant like caring for Kokona, even though like apparently she didn't have memories of her before and then only got them back later and stuff like that. And then Kokona's immediate caring for Paprika without much explanation kind of is sort of like with Yuri and I, just like it didn't really make their relationship something like I really believed in. I just kind of was like, well, all right, okay.
Citation needed, basically.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, it's just like because she just did a lot of really weird stuff, and Kokona was like weirdly permissive with all of that. There could be some arguments made, especially with some of the stuff that was some of the stuff that was seen at the end, which kind of hints at them knowing each other when they were younger. But like, I don't know if they didn't really remember or something, or if they maybe subconsciously remembered or something, or penguin drum shit, whatever. Whatever. You don't know, penguin drum.
Like ambiguous endings like that, especially with shows like this, yeah.
But despite Paprika being a plot device and not a real character, she is consistently characterized. Like, even when she's an adult and then gets turned back into a kid, she's literally the same character. Yeah. Like, there's no change. There's no, like, sudden change in her behavior that, like, we're supposed to suddenly believe that she's a good person now.
Yeah.
Cough. Victor.
Feels fucking bad.
Even out of the mid-tier, we're gonna fucking trash this show.
I'm sorry.
I'm not over it. I'm not over it.
It's alright, we are all not over it.
And another con of the show, on that note, is that it leaves some loose ends. Like Joe was saying, there's some ambiguity there. But given the nature of the show, I'm not very surprised or necessarily, like, displeased with it. Yeah, bothered with it, by it. Lastly, Yayaka deserved better.
Yeah, poor fucking Yayaka.
So much better. Like, Yayaka literally put her life on the line time and time again for Kokona.
She just got spat in the face. She not
loves
okay.
her so much. Like, whether it's when you see it as romantic love or just friendship love, she loves her so much. And just the fact that Kokona just kind of appreciates her relationship with Paprika more than Yayaka's is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So, it just annoys me personally. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Flip Flappers. Probably gonna be watching again at some point. Really wish that there were some things differently, but all in all, very good show. Good shit. 4 out of 5.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I gave this show shit at the beginning because, like, it just didn't make any goddamn sense to me. But now that I've, like, seen it evolve, this is definitely one of those shows that I'm gonna go back and watch.
Yeah,
because
this I think benefits from a rewatch tremendously.
Because, like, you could tell that it's cerebral. And for those kinds of shows, you can't just watch them once because why would you? You gotta watch them multiple times. That's how they get you. But that's alright. Okay, now we are on to our last two, and now for our runner-up of anime of the season, it is Izetta, The Last Witch. Oh my god,
Some people are gonna have some issues with this ranking so
you know
high,
what?
but we'll
Fuck
fight
them.
them.
I don't
We'll
care.
So, you know what's really funny? Way back in the day, in the Snaps episode that never aired, I looked at his edit and I'm like, I see why you guys are really looking forward to this, but I'm getting like a weird / bad feeling about it, so I'm not gonna watch it. I was fucking wrong.
Yes, and I, like, to be fair, I had some of those same anxieties. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I am a fan of World War II. I know these kinds of stories, and just the premise alone seems like, okay, it's interesting, but there's a high chance they could fuck it. I have never been more happy to be wrong in my entire life. This fucking show had me just glued to my computer screen for as long as it lasted, like a big idiot, and I love it every single day. This is just one of those sleeper hits that I never thought would catch my attention like it did. Oh my god, there's so many good things about this show.
I just want to say, like Emily said in the Snaps episode, but that didn't air, I said this looks like some gay shit, and I'm all for it, and I was right.
Yes, right, and then
pleased.
some.
And then some.
Right. So, getting into what makes Izetta such a killer fucking hit, at least for this season, the animation. I thought that because it was a studio that I really wasn't familiar with, it's like, okay, it's gonna be whatever. The animation, the direction, everything that went into the plan, even the CG for the tanks and the planes, everything was so surprisingly good. I was happy. And everything had energy. It was well cut. It was well placed.
There was a lot of really good scenery. There was a lot of big, vast scenery cuts that, I think I mentioned this in one of the episodes, was very Gundam-esque. Because, it looks at the scenery, it's like, look at all this nature, and it shows you, and mankind destroyed it, that sort of thing. With
not only that, they also do a really good portrayal of kind of setting it into its time period, which is basically Switzerland in the middle of the Second World War. The scenery fits, the time period fits,
and then
everything.
We get to the last couple of episodes.
I mean, for the most part, it fits and does a good job of remaining what is called in period. You feel like it is taking place in, granted, an alternate reality of World War II. And the story, honestly, it's so simple. It is just, okay, there's a witch. She needs to stop the Nazis. Okay, that's very straightforward. Yet the way that they build up all the intricacies of the stories, the way they implement the characters, it's so simple. Yet it's engaging, fun, and it's just a joy to watch every single episode to see how they get to that inevitable conclusion.
Because deep down, every war story, every story about war is actually about the people in the war.
That is very true.
Every single character in Izetta, even the ones that sometimes did dumb shit, they were pretty good characters.
Yes. Yeah, and that's another con that I've listed down. And between the huge battles and fights, there's nice downtime moments that last just as long as they need to last. And that is very fucking hard to do in a show that is like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I have
especially when it's 12 episodes long.
Yes, that they managed to do in 12 episodes what most Gundam series takes 50 episodes to do. So any show that could do that automatically gets on my good side. And again, as Mia said, all the characters in this show, they had a role, they had a purpose. Some of those purposes were stupid. We'll get to that.
The maid.
But they all fit the purpose of driving the main story, and that is just great. Also, broom sex. Let's be real. That fucking scene.
That was fucking gay.
Oh my god. That was so great. That was so great.
I literally cried during that scene. When it came on, I was pausing every 3 seconds to take a screenshot and crying because it was so gay.
I was
so
screaming
happy.
and clapping at the screen because I was just proud for
Izetta.
Yeah! Oh, okay. So, now, as good as the show is, it does come with its faults. For one thing, y'all, we talked about suspension of disbelief. You really have to, dump that belief in liquid nitrogen and freeze it. Because this show, holy fuck, it gets really, really fast and loose with its magical power license.
Yeah,
and it gets it quick.
I was like, I think this becomes more obvious once Sophie shows up, and they're like, all right, and now we have armies of clones and magical nukes. And I'm like, this seems like an escalation from flying around on a sword.
Yeah, yeah, like that. It's a glaring issue because you're like enthralled. It's World War II. They're staying kind of truthful to history with something. It's like, okay, yeah, it's mainly just like World War II, except there's a witch flying around. And then you get to the last 4 episodes where just all of a sudden kicks into high gear, just like
she throws the Eiffel Tower at her.
Yeah. So clearly you really need to just
it escalates very quickly, right?
and
at
you
the
need
end.
to like leave some of those like historical liberties behind. So, that's just a thing that happens. Another huge problem with the show is that there are certain characters that have misplaced or motives that are just not said immediately, so they come across as confusing.
Siegfried.
A perfect example is fucking Siegfried. I still hate him because...
No! Do not hate him!
I mean...
Okay, you say your piece and then I'll say mine.
He could have survived. You want to know how he could have survived? He could have fucking said his most important information, thus not, like, putting Izetta in grave danger, thus, like, not putting her in grave danger in the first place for that first attack against Sophie, and he could have also, ended World War II, but he didn't do it because,
Yeah.
like,
okay,
we will...
He had a very bad case of plot dumb.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that is something that I'm willing to overlook because even though we had a big case of plot dumb, all of the character direction for Siegfried is really good. Like,
yes, that is true.
Ignoring all the plot dumb parts, you can tell that he's a man who's really conflicted about the things he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what he's doing is bad and that people are going to die and it's going to be his fault. And that it kills him inside. But he's going to do it for his country because he promised the king that he would do that.
Yeah, but still, we don't get the full...
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think it's just that, like, that Con, you guys mentioned the overall, this is my assumption from what both of you have said. I think these things can be wed. But you say the overall story suffers from a lot of plot convenience. Like,
Yes.
Siegfried is a good character who suffers from plot stupid, which makes it reflect badly back on his character.
Yes. It also doesn't
Yes.
help that Izetta has a fuck ton of plot armor, which means that there is a lot of suspenseful moments are kind of ruined because it's like, well, Izetta's fine. She's fine.
She's the last witch. She can't die.
She can't die. Yeah. And also...
That's something that Izetta has, I feel like, that a lot of Gundams don't.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, and another thing is the primary antagonist, and I say that the primary antagonist, like, okay, so, yes, there is a not Hitler in this show. Yes, technically, if you want to, like, point a finger at a certain individual, it is all his fault. But let's be real, the antagonist is Sophie, and she doesn't show up until the last 4 episodes or so. And, like, well, she shows up before that, but she's not active until the last 4 episodes. So, like, it's kind of one of those things where I feel like the antagonist just kind of showed up just a wee bit too late. So, it's not a huge detriment, but it's enough to bring down the show. Also, that ending, while everything before the very last stuff, it was all fine and dandy. And then we figure out that Izetta is still alive, and half of the people who watch this are just like, yeah, she did it. And half of the people are like,
what the fuck?
Are you sure that's how it works?
I was the one of the people who said, yay, because I want her to be happy and gay and alive.
Yeah, and in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, but okay.
It's better than dead.
Yeah, it is true. So... the ending, while I personally like it, and Mia personally likes it, it's not an ending for everybody, especially people who want, like, total closure. It's just one of those things that happens. Also,
I will admit, it does seem like some real bullshit, like a real ass pull. Like, how is her entire body not disintegrated?
It really was an ass pull. Like, let's be real.
It's an ass pull. It's just an ass pull y'all are
Sophie
happy
and Izetta
about.
just threw 2 fucking fuck-off
Nukes.
huge magic spirit bombs at each other. And
They
Izetta
threw
just
magic nukes at each other.
like, and Izetta just came out the other side with just like, well,
Izetta's like, yeah, I'm just fine.
yeah, like,
Don't worry, my legs are I'll get better.
like that is an asshole the highest degree.
My
Also-
lesbianism saved me.
Also, what in fuck is Bergman doing alive?
Yeah.
How did he
Okay.
live?
So Siegfried, the guy who literally like throws it all away in the name of good country, dies because he hesitates before shooting an enemy. Bergman, who gets ambushed in a fucking boat and abandoned his country and gets shot, I would assume, in the fucking face, somehow doesn't fucking die, and then shows up months later as punished Bergman with one eye and his arm broken.
That's pretty good.
Oh, gee. Like I said, there's a lot of things that are just stupid about this show. But when it's on its highest highs, it's just so fucking good and just so entertaining to watch that I just get those cons out of my head and just enjoy it for what it is. And it's just a straightforward war story with a spin that is combining lots of different elements all together in one fantastic package that surprised the ever-loving out of me. So my final verdict, 4.5 out of 5. If it wasn't for all of those cons, it would probably have been a 5 out of 5 for me personally, but I would definitely recommend this as a show to watch. Like, go watch it. It's got something. It's good. It's got a little something for everybody. You might be disappointed about a couple of things in it, but for the most part, this is definitely a show that I could easily recommend to anybody. Fantastic. Thank you, Izetta, for existing. All right, so with that said, I'm pretty sure now through process of elimination, you guys have figured out what our pick for anime of the season is. No surprise here, it is Drifters. This show was just solid.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've been describing Drifters as like the ROM of shows. It's like a consistent husband. It's Drifters, I don't know, I didn't scream about Drifters as much as I screamed about shows that were considerably worse than it. But it was just good. Like, every week you'd go to Drifters and you're like, yeah, it's Drifters. It's pretty fucking good, because it just has been this entire time. So, Drifters just wins this anime of the season in particular, just due in part to being so fucking consistent. It also, obviously, has a bunch of other really good things going for it, which we are about to get into right now. One of them is pictured in the background of this slide.
Can we just say...
No, we're going to talk about Yoichi later.
Right. We gotta
go to our awards video. We can talk about Yoichi.
Yes. All right.
All right. The pros. Every single superpower belonging to the ends was fucking sweet.
They're dope.
They're dope.
They're dope.
All of them are dope. Really good action, super fun politics. This was, I don't know, it was like it wasn't a super smart show, but it wasn't as dumb as I was expecting it to be, given that it's Hirano. Like, yes. I love Hellsing. But Hellsing's fucking stupid. Like, Drifters was not fucking stupid. Drifters was actually pretty solid, and that was really good. The protagonists are all just basically completely absurd, but they balance each other out in a really good way. So you have, like, 3 super over-the-top personalities, and it just doesn't get old.
It really doesn't. It just...
Like, they're all really good. They make a really nice contrast to each other.
Honestly, I was going to leave in the Izetta notes that Fine and Izetta had, like, the best dynamic of the season. Honestly, the dynamic between Yoichi, Toshi, and Nobunaga, that was just, like... That was, like, the
it was just good.
It was the perfect holy trinity of just...
It was the Three's Company... It was a Three's Company of character
Basically.
It really was.
The entire show was based around it.
Yeah. It was good. This show is exceptionally Hirano. The lines are THICC thick. That is...
I love it!
Yeah, I was saying that is a good thing. That is a good thing. The art of the show was stellar. Did an excellent job of capturing all of the really nice things that are good about Hirano art. And the show did a really good job of capturing all the good things that are good about Hirano stories in general. In that, you know, it was over the top and not stylish to the point where there was no substance, which is really good. That being said, it was very stylish.
Yes, it was. And it wasn't like in parts of Hellsing where it just got so stylish that it was just like, okay.
Yeah, Hellsing, I love Hellsing. Hellsing, like, the last chunk of the manga plot in Hellsing, like, just brings a fucking tear to my eye. It ruined everything. Yeah. Drifters does not have a moment like that. It is solid the whole way through. Very slick in all accounts. The art, the animation, the music, the lighting. I love that super dramatic Hirano lighting. Just fuck my shit up. It's so good. The music in particular, stellar. Yes. The music was killing
Everything just blends together in a perfect package, and it just all leads into just amplifying what Hirano is good at, and it just does it super, super well. Like,
this show basically was a hype train.
It really was.
It was just one long hype train that just choo-chooed through the entire season that didn't stop because it's good.
Yeah.
It didn't stop, but didn't slow down. It didn't really speed up, it seems like.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It was just consistent.
Yeah. As good as it is, though, it still does have its problems to it.
This was a problem with a lot of shows this season. You didn't say it about Threegatsu, but I've heard from other people that watch Threegatsu this was a problem for them. The manga, little giggle cuts and side things are taken a little too seriously and given a little too much time. I think that anime in general might need to move away from the super one-to-one adaptation and like remove some of those.
Yes,
because they take up a lot more of your mental energy when they're front and center.
It's a problem here. It's a problem in Threegatsu no Lion.
It was a problem in Dream Greyman last season.
It was one of the worst problems of Taboo Tattoo.
Yeah.
Like
it's just everywhere.
It's starting to wear thin.
I'm hoping that anime in general kind of moves past this soon. I mean, that was the thing, because we went from like the age of tons of filler and just a bunch of like non-manga stuff, and people are like, okay, I'd want you to just like interpret the manga, and now they're like, all right, well, this is what you want, a finger curls on the monkey's paw. But like, this is better than tons of filler, but it's still kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Drifters is not subtle.
No.
And like, Drifters is not
quite
subtle.
Blunt.
Yeah, Drifters is not subtle because Hirano isn't subtle, but if you don't like Hirano, this is not the show for you, because that is exactly what it is. And one of the things, there's a lot of stuff that relies on you knowing a fair bit more about Japanese history than your average white person does. Hijikata is in this show, and I unfortunately don't have his Wikipedia page pulled up because I didn't think about it, but Hijikata basically was sort of, he did not die in a traumatic way. He got exiled, which happens to a lot of people, but he was basically like, had his ideas, like implemented in the long term and did not die in a traumatic way. So if you, like me and like several other people I know that watch the show, only really had that like Wikipedia summary of his life, you're like, why is he an end? The reason is that him and his clan is in a very strong and historic rivalry with Toshi's. So Hijikata is an end to be a counterpoint to Toshiya being a drifter. Unfortunately, that just doesn't, you don't get that if you didn't already know that. And like most of the time, somebody like your average person watching this on Crunchyroll, like myself, out of the three protagonists is only gonna know Nobunaga.
Yes.
Off the top of the head. It's not a real stopping point most of the time, but every so often you like Google Hijikata and you're like, why is he an end? And you just don't know until like the very last episode. They actually like spell it out, which is very nice of them. But there's like some minor stuff like that. I still don't really know who Yoichi is. So it's kind of an issue because he's beautiful. That being said, the good parts way outshine the bad parts, and that's why we have it as anime of the season. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend this to anybody that likes action shows, and especially to people that liked Hellsing.
Yes.
If you liked Hellsing, you will adore this.
Yes.
This is very good. And it's unfortunate that we'll never get a season 2 because there isn't enough manga. Like,
at the moment, though.
I mean, maybe later, but yes. Hirano takes these huge hiatuses because he has more money than God, so he doesn't have to do shit.
Yeah,
but
I mean, that as to be expected against most mangaka
that do this well. Yeah,
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Berserk author. Look at me. Please don't fuck up Berserk 2017. I'll be sad if you do.
Yeah, we'll all be sad. Yeah. In any case, the final verdict is a 4.5 out of 5. It is almost a perfect show, and has just a few glaring flaws that make it not perfect the whole way through.
Yep.
And you might be wondering, but all of you, Joe, Mia, Emily, this is your anime of the season. Why isn't it a 5 out of 5? The answer is because it's not as good as Thunderbolt Fantasy, so sorry.
Yeah,
so if you remember at our last season where we gave Thunderbolt Fantasy a 5 out of 5, and that is the first staff pick, is because that is our benchmark for our 5 out of 5s. So if we didn't like have as good of a time, like if it was not as good as Thunderbolt Fantasy in our eyes, it's just gonna fall that short.
And and you know what? And that's okay. I will say everything in this high tier, I would unironically recommend that almost everyone watch.
Absolutely.
Like that's why it's the high tier. And there was a lot of high tier this season.
Yeah, it's substantially more than last season. It was just
really good.
So now we're through all the rankings of our shows. I'm pretty sure we've made some people happy, some people mad, but you know what? That's not important, because what is important is next episode we get to our awards, where we basically
just act dumb.
Yes, this is where we get to basically splurge about what we had as our favorites for this entire season.
So you know how
take a shit on Crunchy's nomination.
Yeah, yes,
yeah.
Because
oh my god,
shit.
We're gonna have some time to talk about that.
We'll talk about that, but that'll be for the next episode. That'll be for the next video. So until then, as always, I am Joe
and Emily.
And I'm Mia.
Thanks. And thank you for joining us for this season.
Thanks for joining us for this season. It's been great, and we'll definitely
Thank you for continuing to listen to us through 2016.
Yeah,
hopefully.
we made it through 2016, so that's good.
Joe's laptop didn't.
Yeah, rip. But we're not done yet. We still got our awards show, so if you want to check that out, just peep the link immediately after I'm done talking, and we will see you in our Fall 2016 awards show. Bye-bye.
Bye.